Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about Baldur's Gate. We do this while actually watching some of the trailers for the game. Some of the footage is pre-alpha, just keep this in mind. Now, Baldur's Gate was one of my favorite childhood games, and I play all of them, and I have really good memories of this game because I enjoyed it so much. I can actually see some, kind of foggy moments of me actually playing the game and with different scenes, and there's some really pictures kind of stuck in my head when I think about Baldur's Gate. Now, Baldur's Gate is being developed by Larian Studios. This is the same developer who made the game Divinity Original Sin 2. You need to keep in mind that if you look like 5 years back, mainly the RPG games that I play are action RPGs. I like the real-time action, it feels really good, and that's why I enjoy playing most. But kind of an old school gamer, I always have a place in my heart for turn-based games. I mean, one of my favorite turn-based games was actually Civilization. Um, but lately, I feel kind of more wanting to experience turn-based games, and I start watching videos about Dungeons and Dragons. Try to go back to the roots of the type of games which I enjoy playing when I was a kid. Now, I've seen the demo gameplay from yesterday, from June 18th, and I was just blown away. Now I'm gonna mention some things discussed in many different interviews and gameplay reveals, so you can know why you should get excited about Baldur's Gate 3. Now Larian Studios is planning to bring this game in early access on Steam, and just keep in mind it won't be the complete game, mainly Act 1. And this is not sure. They say maybe because they're not sure due to COVID-19 pandemic right now. Many people work from home. Things go slower, so it's not 100% sure that we get to play it in early access on August. Alright, so let's go to the things that excited me the most about Baldur's Gate 3, aside from being a big fan. And there are two really RPG games that I remember liking so much when I was a kid, and this is Baldur's Gate 3 and Bard's Tale. I'm actually replaying Bard's Tale 1 and 2 right now. I got it on Xbox Game Pass, so I'm actually playing those right now. Now keep in mind that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a much bigger game when when the complete game is released, and even bigger than Divinity Original Sin 2, according to Sven Vinke, which is the CEO of Larsen Studios. Now, from what I've heard, the first act will be playable. Maybe part of it, maybe not complete. They are making changes. But you're gonna have to play a bunch of main and sub quests, which is about 15 to 20 hours gameplay long. And then we are going to have the option to choose between 6 playable classes in the early access, and also there will be subclasses and different races which you can choose from when creating your character. But of course they need to limit things, so the level will also be capped, so you can just go and reach to the highest level possible. This of course will be available once you actually get the full game, and of course the more you play it, the higher level you're gonna get as you get more experience points. Now if you're a D&D fan, you're gonna love Baldur's Gate 3, because what I read is that Baldur's Gate 3 will use the tabletop rules of Dungeons and Dragons. And this is super cool. And actually start watching Dungeon and Dragon rules set, videos on YouTube just to get familiar about this, because I'm not a D&D player. So this means you can see characters' action, movements, bonus action, reaction, which is something that of course inherited from D&D games. So I think that this game will appeal to both even casual RPG games, D&D enthusiast players, old school game enthusiasts like myself, and those who are actually fans of Baldur's Gate series, and those who play Divinity Original Sin games, really love those games. I think gonna love this one as well. I'm really enjoying seeing kind of old school franchise being kind of revived, not remastered, but revived again with a sequel. And this is something that really excites me. Really excites me. Now, one thing that I've noticed, and I heard it from the CEO, is in an interview that I saw online, is that the initiative system was actually changed. So there's a new version. So there's kind of a role on the initiative that decides who actually go first. So if, for example, if there are several party members close to each other, you can actually change the sequence in which each character takes action. So this way you can just bounce between characters until they are out of actions with any order of your choice. Now, the thing that I really enjoy seeing is actually how the level is designed. By the way, beautiful, beautiful level design. This is something that caught my attention from the moment I just saw the world. It's just so beautiful and detailed. But it's not just about the details itself, but actually the game, like Divinity Original Sin, from what I read, uh, the idea is that the player will use the environment to their advantage. And you can see that the game was designed from the ground up with lots of verticality, which encourages, of course, players to think how they are going to use the environment into their advantage and come up with some different attack strategies in order to win different engagements. Uh, Also, some areas are also breakable, and this was really cool. You can actually break bridges, or for example, burn. Um, it was like spider webs. And one example in the gameplay from yesterday, there were like 2 or 3 spiders just waiting there on the spider web bridge. And Larson, what he did is just burned that spider web and actually caused the enemies to fall down to the floor. The thing is that you're going to have many different utilities which you can use. For example, in the gameplay that was presented yesterday, you can see him actually throwing kind of a liquid onto the floor, and then when you actually shoot it, it just burn out in flames. It's very flammable liquid. Now, another thing that he said in an interview with GameSpot, I think it was, where you can actually throw potion into a bucket, which they actually goblins drink, the drink from, and the effect of this potion will actually affect the goblins. So just think about how amazing those systems are when everything just comes together, allowing players to have so many choices on how actually they want to approach different combats. And this is exactly what I want in games. So usually you follow a story. I'm going to talk about story just a bit later. To have so many options. This way the game really feel open. You really feel like you are doing something of your own, not just repeating every action that actually other players are playing. So this is your playthrough, your game. So when you talk about a friend who actually played the game, by the way, co-op is available. I'm going to talk about it a bit later. So if you talk about the friend who actually playing the game, you're probably going to have different stories to tell to each other because each one is going to play the game differently. And this, of course, leads to higher replayability because you're going to play the game over and over again to experience it differently. And there are many other aspects of the game for Baldur's Gate 3 which actually affect the gameplay and the story, which I'm going to talk about just a bit later. Now, another example where Sven was actually he moved different objects. You can actually move objects in the environment, but this depends on your strength. So if you have good amount of strength, you can actually lift object and reposition them. So if you want, for example, to stack up boxes, you can actually climb them, and you can move other objects, place them, even just shoot them so they can explode. And you can maybe eliminate a wall, which allows you to progress further into a dungeon. So again, so many options, and what we've seen is just the tip of the ice. I'm sure there are going to be tons more. By the way, regarding the environment, one thing that I really liked, and then I'm speaking from a player that plays mostly action RPGs, is that with the turn-based game, you actually get to really enjoy the environment. Usually with action RPG, you just rush through everything, focus on the action, whereas sometimes you just, the area, the beautiful design of the level, you just kind of blurred out in a bit because you're so focused on other things. But in this game, when actually watching the gameplay, I told myself, wow, this is such a beautiful level design. What a beautiful world to be in. And actually can pay attention to the leaves that goes up on the roof. Every single detail, because this is actually a turn-based game when you actually engage in battle. So again, this is There are tons of creativity when it comes to design, but also tons of creativity that was injected into the gameplay experience itself. So in this way, I didn't feel like everything is scripted, but there are actually lots of loose ends, lots of options that the game options that can take place in the game, which I am as a player as a kind of the last saying of what will actually happen. Now, seeing all this, I know there are going to be lots of surprises. Not everything is going to be up to you, and of course, this is based on D&D game rules. This means you can also roll dice, and this can have a great effect on your gameplay experience and even the story. So like D&D games, you can also roll dice in different situation, and this is kind of a random results to the game, which is nice. Again, same as a D&D, of course. And the roll of the dice will decide in some cases how your story progresses. And this is really cool because I like having kind of a random things uh, injected into the game. And this also improves replayability. And the chances are that when you play the second time, you won't never get the same experience like the previous playthrough. Now, I even remember this playing Bard's Tale. By the way, don't confuse Bard's Tale and Baldur's Gate. Yeah, different games. But I played Bard's Tale yesterday, and there they actually you can roll when you're in the pub. You can actually roll different characters with different abilities. You just roll dices, and you get to roll different statistics for each character until you're kind of fine with what you get. Well, let's talk more about the gameplay. So another thing that I really like is the dark and light system. It's kind of a stealth system that allows players to stay in the shadows if you don't want to stay safe or be stealthy, or just stay away from danger. So actually, you're gonna take shadows into account here. So if you want to stay stealthy, you're gonna be probably in the area of shadows. And there's an icon actually that represents the amount of a stealth. There are three options. One which is stealthy, the other one which is partially visible, and one which are completely visible. But even then, enemies, they're kind of a angle of view where you can actually see you. The one time where I saw that Sven walked into, tried to surprise one of the goblins, uh, and he was there, but the goblin immediately turned around. He was so close to the goblin, but the goblin couldn't see him because of the angle of view. So it was really, really behind him, and then he was able to carry an attack and surprise the goblin. So this is another aspect that takes the level design itself, the environment, into consideration, allowing players to pull up more unique and creative strategies. Now, that being said, there will be enemies that can see you through this obscurity. So if you are in the shadows, there will be type of enemies that this type of dark and light system, obscurity system, won't affect them, so they can actually see you. Now, speaking about shadows and lights, I was surprised to see that some characters can even see better than others in the darkness. And this, of course, there are going to be some, like animals, for example, that can see better than us in the darkness. Now, these are kind of unique characters. I don't know which one I think, if it was the elf or another one, I don't know. But you switch between two characters, and you can clearly see that the one character couldn't really see in the details in the shadows, and when you switch to another character, boom, you then see everything. So it was really surprising and a really cool mechanic. So for example, when you just jump into a dark room for the first time, you probably want to do this with one of your characters. They can see better in the dark. Now, usually when I play any game, and I want to be immersed with it, a good story is always something that can work well for me and get me more into the game. But in many times I find myself that it just things are not enough. I'm not really immersed, and in some games it feels kind of rushed and underdone. But from what I've seen here in Baldur's Gate 3, and we just saw a little tiny bit, I felt kind of, let's say it, very immersed with what I've seen. That some of the characters have really great voice acting, which I really like. So we get kind of a very quick emotional bond with the characters, even with such a short time. So I just can imagine how it would be like when I play the game for the first time and get to be with those characters and creating those unique emotional bonds. Now, in terms of character customization, I didn't see anything in the gameplay from yesterday, but from what I've read and heard, there are different things you can actually customize. This includes in the class, the race, the subclass, subrace, yeah, the background of the character, which is cool. You have to use ability points, which you can also decide which type of spells you can actually use on your character. Uh, Now, even the world itself is more reactive to depends on what classes you're actually playing, what race you are, what proficiencies you have. And this is so much more refined compared to what they did in original Sin 2, as Swanvink said. So this is another layer of something that makes the game play differently. So actually depends on how you what character you actually playing, the world will react accordingly. Now, from what I've heard, there's also alignment in this game, kind of a good and bad, and whether you are counted as good or bad depends on the action that you take in the game. So again, it all depends on your choices when interacting with different characters. So if you want to do bad things, there will be, of course, consequences, but also be advantages to this. For example, if you are interacting with characters in the camp that have alignment, their alignment with the same alignment as you, more or less, you're probably going to have a higher chance of getting approval from your party members that actually have the same alignment compared to those who haven't. And in an interview with GameSpot, Swan actually said that in some cases, when the alignment is really different than one of your party members, they can even try to kill you at night. I don't know about you, this is just crazy. I was shocked when I heard that. Now, when the game first started yesterday, when it wasn't from the beginning, they were in the camp, and the camp is the place where you can actually sleep. You encounter different characters which you can interact with, recruit even, and they're going to be other functionality added to the camp when you continue playing the game. But Swen didn't, he preferred not saying too much about it, just leave it to the players to experience when they play the game themselves. Now, speaking about sleeping is essential, by the way, to restore the capabilities of your characters. So there's a kind of a long sleep and short sleep, and it's not always safe to sleep in a place. So again, you need to think that whether you want to take a short sleep in an unsafe zone just to gather some of your abilities back. Long sleep will replenish everything, whether short sleep will replenish some of your capabilities. And in the gameplay yesterday, Swen actually decided to take kind of a short sleep because he saw the place. He said to himself, all right, this place seems kind of a good place, safe place to kind of restore part of the abilities, replenish the capabilities of the character before he continued to the underworld. Now, the game actually, when there's danger, the game will actually notify you that it's maybe better to take a short rest than a long rest. So will happen probably if you are in a danger zone. Now, if you decide to take a long rest, when you visit the camp back, you might encounter different other camp followers which you can interact with before you go to sleep, which is pretty cool. You might meet some really interesting characters. Now, before this, I talk about replayability, and from what I understand, when it comes to story development, there will be lots of branches. This means that choices that you make, even in the beginning of the game, will have a substantial effect how the story evolves. So again, more replayability, because each time you're going to play the game, you're going to discover new things that you haven't seen before in your previous playthroughs. And this is just the tip of the ice. There's also co-op, which you can actually play with friends. Each one takes a different character, and consequences affect you both. So overall, from what I've seen until now, I'm super impressed, and this is the type of game I'm looking for, something different. I'm already kind of in a time in my life where I want to experience kind of old school games all over again. I'm replaying old school games, some of them remastered on the PC, but I'm looking for something completely new, something kind of a continuation of previous old school games that I enjoyed playing as a child, and Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely one of them. Now, as I told you before, I'm not a person who plays a lot of turn-based games, but Baldur's Gate 3 caught my attention immediately because mostly of all of the things that I actually explain here, and some other things that I didn't talk about this video, I'm going to talk about later videos. So overall, keep an eye on Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's going to be an amazing, amazing game. So this is it for the video. I'm going to share more. I'm going to read more about Baldur's Gate and share more information later on in future videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. Consider subscribing and pressing the bell button to get notified when I release new videos, and liking this video if you enjoy it. Thanks everyone, and see you in the next video. Bye bye. Cheers.